We're kicking off a brand new work camping season at Crescent Lake Campground. Hear what it's really like being a campground host, the perks and challenges of the job, and why you should never take a volunteer position if you want pay to be in your future. Plus, work camping jobs you may not have heard of, campfire etiquette, and Memorial Day tips for last-minute campers. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Restless Nomads, the ultimate RV show for modern-day rubber tramps and weekend warriors alike. Whether you're chasing sunsets full-time, savoring seasonal escapes, or just hitting the road for a quick weekend getaway, this is your go-to show for tips, tricks, and tales from the road. Join us as we dive into everything RV, choosing the right rig, surviving life on wheels, and navigating the highs and lows of life on the move. From towables to motorhomes, budget hacks to campsite secrets, we've got you covered. So buckle up, nomads, and let's hit the road to adventure, 1 mile at a time. Welcome back to the Restless Nomads radio show. With you here is Mike, coming to you live from Crescent Lake Campground, and with me is Angie. Say hi, baby.
Hi.
And we are just getting started with our camp hosting gig up here. If you want to follow our adventures, visit therestlessnomads.com. You can also YouTube search The Restless Nomads and find us there. We've got the travel blog along with videos and this radio show turned podcast on therestlessnomads.com. For this week's RV news update, we're bringing it to you live from on the ground here at Crescent Lake Campground in the Deschutes National Forest. Campgrounds around the country opening right now. Now, I will tell you that all these jobs are just getting started and everybody's just opening, so please bear with your campground hosts, and everybody gets kind of thrown into the fire right off the bat. So campers, be gentle. Lots of services are in the early stages of ramping up. Now, we have opened, and it was a little anticlimactic, kind of like Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation when he tried to turn on his Christmas lights. We worked very hard for 2 days to get the campground all ready, and we went to lunch and came back after we opened the gates, and there was one camper in our campground. Now, that might have something to do with the weather that is forecasted for this weekend. Supposed to be seeing some cooler temperatures, some rain, and maybe even some thunderstorms. So, fortunately, they're breaking us in a little bit easy. When it rains, campers typically are pretty disappointed. Campground hosts are grateful for the most part. Let's see what we got here. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how this whole work camping thing works, especially when it comes to campground hosting. And we are in the Deschutes National Forest, and the National Forest will oftentimes contract a concessionaire, and a concessionaire is just a company that agrees to manage a section of the forest. They put a bid in on it, they pay a flat rate, and then they take the profits from the forest. So they're hoping that it'll be a good season and that they will collect all those camping fees and extra vehicle fees and firewood fees and all that kind of stuff. They get to keep it. Now, that's their net profit after they pay the National Forest Service for the contract, which isn't cheap at all. Now, another model that you'll see is the National Forest will manage campgrounds directly, and they just seek volunteers generally, which we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Some of the benefits for working for a concessionaire, and I'll just tell you about these current benefits that we have, and then we'll compare it to our other two jobs that we've worked in the past. One of the best benefits is a free site, and one of the biggest benefits that we have here at Crescent Lake is the site is level. Now, that is incredible. At Lake Cacheese in Washington, our site was far from level, and we had it jacked up probably a foot on one side. So not very level, and we got it there eventually, but it was took some doing. Now, another big benefit that we have here are electric and water hookups. Now at Lake Cacheese, that was our first dry camping adventure period, and we did it for an entire season, no hookups whatsoever. We ran on generators, and we had to have water delivered and everything. It was difficult. It was really tough, to say the least. After that job, in 2023 at Lake Cacheese, we decided that we will not take a job unless there's electric hookups from here on out. At minimum, it's got to have electricity, just because of our lifestyle. You know, when we're done for the evening, we want to watch TV, and we want to be able to lay in bed and watch TV. And when the generator has to go off at 10 o'clock, no more TV. Unless you have a really sweet battery bank and inverter set up. We tried that, and we just kept on running out of juice in the middle of the night. So it wasn't for us. And I think it's important to know that about yourself. You know, there's a lot of people that love boondocking out there, and that's great for them. We can boondock maybe for 2 or 3 days, but for an entire summer, that's pretty rough. Now, another benefit that we have here is that, well, what they are saying is that they're going to have someone come out here weekly with a honey wagon or a septic truck and pump our black tank out. I'll believe it when I see it. That's what they're saying. They're saying they're going to send somebody out here to pump us out. But they also said that when we worked for California Land Management in 2020, and that was a great experience. We worked for, actually, it's California Land Management was the concessionaire, and they operated under Deschutes Recreation, who we're operating under now. But they said, yeah, we'll have a honey wagon come out there, and it turns out it was the maintenance guy that brought a blue boy, and then we had to haul our black water to the vault toilet and dump it out ourselves. And that was 3 or 4 trips every single time. So I at least now know what to expect. That's the worst case scenario. At least we've got a vault toilet nearby. We have our own blue boy, so we can empty at any time. We're completely self-sufficient out here. We could be out here forever if it weren't for the snow. We've got water. We've got electricity. I've got a blue boy, so we can dump the black and the gray tanks. So we are good to go. Just have to go get our propane every once in a while. Now, at Lake Cacheese, they actually supplied propane. They would fill it up for you. You would have your tanks picked up, or you drop them off at the little headquarter building, and then they would fill it up for you. Here, that's on us. We have to fill our own propane, and I'm more than happy to do it because they are paying the electric bill. We don't pay any electric whatsoever, so happy to pay for our own propane. One thing that we've run into with pretty much all 3 jobs that we've worked for is that it can be a little difficult getting supplies, cleaning supplies, gloves, chemicals, things like that. Usually you get just enough to get you about 2-3 days, and the management generally highly underestimates what you're going to need. And then things like pump sprayers and stuff like that, usually they're broken. So if you know that going into it, and you have your own supplies like we do, we have our own pump sprayer and our own litter pickers and things like that we've invested in just to make our jobs easier and faster, then you'll have a much better season. Now, as far as chemicals and stuff like that, that's just one of those things you're going to have to live with. And unless you want to shell out a bunch of money on latex gloves, you're going to have to keep pestering your site supervisor or whoever to get you more latex gloves pretty much every single day, it seems like. We try to build up a little bit of a surplus because we know we're going to burn through them, and then when we get down to a certain level, that's when we start asking for more, because it's very likely that if you go with what they think you need, you will quickly run out, and it'll be a big emergency. So you don't want that to happen. Create yourself a little stash, and you'll know what you need better than anyone. We change our gloves after every bathroom, so that's probably coming from both of us working in the medical field. And then we keep hand sanitizer on our golf cart, so we do this clean. Well, one of the things that, we're thrilled to be here. And despite some of the challenges, they're actually not a real big deal considering the benefits that come with this, And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the difference between volunteer jobs and these paid jobs. And it's my personal opinion. Now, you can take this with a grain of salt, take it for what it's worth. But I don't take volunteer jobs, and neither does Angie, for the fact that if you take volunteer jobs, it will send a message to people, to the people that need work campers, campground hosts, that kind of thing. If you take these volunteer jobs, what you're doing is you're sending a message saying, we're willing to do this for free, which is going to ruin work camping for a lot of people out there. A lot of people, this is their only income. They work seasonally. They count on this cash to travel throughout the year and so forth. So we don't take the volunteer positions because we do not want to devalue work camping and the services that we provide. I know there's a lot of folks out there that will take them, and I would say that, if you're going to take a volunteer work camping job, make sure that you are being treated fairly. If you're volunteering, you probably shouldn't be cleaning bathrooms and things like that. And I know that the state parks are all volunteer. They try to mitigate that by not having their camp hosts clean bathrooms. I'm more than happy to clean the bathrooms as long as you pay us for doing it. Now, one of the huge benefits, when we started this gig in 2020 was our first work camping job, and the pay back then I think was around $12.50 an hour. This year, we've seen a huge increase. For some reason, in this national forest, the concessionaires start their campground host at $17.25 an hour. So we're really excited about that, and we certainly wouldn't volunteer because that if they can determine, we can fill all these positions with volunteers, there's no need to pay them, you're undervaluing our role in the industry. So just kind of a pet peeve of mine, I guess. I do not like the volunteer jobs unless they come with very minimal work, like, okay, well, I'll keep an eye on the place sort of thing. But if you're actually having to be out there raking and cleaning fire pits and bathrooms and keeping track of money and stuff like that, you deserve to be paid. So we opened May 16th and we'll close on October 14th, hopefully. Last year, they actually closed on July 23rd because of the red fire, and the camp host that was here got evacuated. So did the resort next door. Lots of people within the forest working and just recreating got evacuated last July, and unfortunately, they sent all those workers. Some had the option, they gave them choices. Hey, we're short in this area. Would you mind covering? And they were able to continue getting paid. But some of those folks just had to go home. It's like being laid off, essentially. We were talking to some of the resort workers across the way, and they said, yeah, we save up our money every summer and live off of it in the wintertime. And they said they just really had a difficult winter. So keep that in mind. Wildfire risk is real, and evacuations can happen. So you need to be able to adapt and improvise and then overcome. Also, one of the things that comes with that, we've got this sweet spot at Crescent Lake with the electricity and the water and everything. If at some point during the season they decide to evacuate our campground and they say, well, we have coverage at another one, say in July, it's very likely that one or two that is left, they're going to be the runts of the litter. They're not going to be as nice as sites, probably no services, because even the people that were in there, if something better came up, they already got into those better places. Campground hosts and workers are always looking for that premium spot. So if a position opens up in a better spot and they're allowed to move, you bet your bottom dollar that they will. Now, this is the time that we all start. We applied for this job back in February. So generally, to get these seasonal summer jobs, you start applying in January, February, and you're able to get your pick of spots. There's lots of good spots. If you applied later in the season, you'll very likely be able to get a job because people drop out. People decide this isn't for me. Now, as soon as, let's say that there was a worker and they were in a campground and they had this nice spot. They decided it wasn't for me, or they had a family emergency and they decided, I can't do this, I got to quit and I got to go. Well, whoever was in a less than premium spot in that company is going to take it, and then they're going to open up that campground. So later in the season, if you want to apply like right now, you'll likely get a job, but don't count on it being something desirable. It'll probably be out there dry camping, no hookups, no internet, no cell coverage, nothing. That's usually the ones that are left over. And we found that to be true at Lake Deschutes. That was a dry camping, no connectivity situation because we applied for it in May. And I think we started in June, which is rather late to be applying. But we weren't really sure if we wanted to do it until the very end, and we said, let's go ahead and do it. So apply early to get the best spots, and make sure during your interviews that you're asking questions about Starlink connectivity and cell phone connectivity, and is there power, is there water, how do we get rid of black water, that kind of thing. Now, one thing for us, after Lake Deschutes and dry camping for that season, we are non-negotiable. We require at least electric hookups for these long-term jobs. We're here for 5 months, and we don't want to be on generators for 5 months. Messing around, filling up the gas in a generator twice a day because you're running your air conditioning gets tedious after a while, and not having electricity in the middle of the night is tedious as well. And unless you want to invest in a big battery bank and a high wattage inverter, you're going to make some sacrifices. Now, you already make some sacrifices just being in an RV as far as space goes, but we're not willing to make that big of a sacrifice of not having electricity overnight. We just need it. So one of the first questions when we get a call, hey, would you work this site? And we did. We received several calls. American Land and Leisure is another concessionaire. And we talked to them about a couple places. And one of the very first questions was, does the site have electricity? And if they say no, then we say, sorry, we're going to keep looking. So it's almost a two-way interview because you're going to be living there for 5 months. So you need to make sure that you're happy where you're living. Now, let's talk about some unusual work camping jobs. There is campground hosting, and that's what we've done for 3 years. We've done the campground hosting thing, and some things that we may try in the future, and we've entertained one of these, but we didn't commit to it. So after this season is over, it doesn't mean that work camping is over. You can move south to Arizona and Southern California, the Southwest in particular, even Texas and Florida in the Southeast. They still have campground hosting jobs. Now, there are fewer of them, and they are in higher demand. So be aware that it's going to be harder to get campground hosting jobs during the winter, just because what was a nationwide demand now has been isolated to below the Mason-Dixon line, where the temperatures are still nice. So know that going in, and get those applications in early, like May right now is a good time to be applying for those wintertime gigs, especially the longer term ones. Now, I wanted to mention pumpkin patches. They hire. These are shorter term commitments and might be kind of fun for some folks. Usually pumpkin patches will hire for 2 or 3 weeks. Same with Christmas tree lots. They usually hire work campers. Now, depending on where you're at, you may be in a winterized camper unless you have some really good insulated pipes or something like that. And being in an insulated camper without water can be a challenge too. One of the ones that we've entertained is oil rig gate guarding, and that is super it's kind of isolating. It's usually out in the middle of nowhere, and you go out there. They give you a company generator that you can run 24 hours a day because you are out there by yourself. But they pay really, really good to sit there and count vehicles at an oil rig in Texas or in Louisiana. It's like $10,000 a month is not uncommon for that. So a great way to save up some money, and usually they're 30-day commitments. So I have heard of people going down and doing it for 2 or 3 months. You walk away after 3 months at 30 grand, you can travel for the rest of the year pretty comfortably. And then there are some less than traditional work camping jobs, like just your normal remote jobs that you do over the internet. In fact, we're managing this radio station while campground hosting at Crescent Lake. I don't often advertise that fact on the morning show during the week or anything, but yep, we are up here, and I am coming to you live from Crescent Lake Campground on Klamath Country Mornings every weekday morning. If you want to find a gig, several ways to see some job listings. Just Google work camping jobs, and that's work and then AMPING. So combined, WRKAMPING jobs. And if you misspell it, I'm sure it'll still pull it up. But you'll see all kinds of work camping jobs, and there are different kinds, different categories. For RVers, which is us, van lifers have some of their own job categories, and even dorm living situations for younger folks generally, like let's say Crater Lake. You can go work at Crater Lake, and if you don't mind living in a dorm setting, mostly the 20-something-year-olds that do that stuff, then that's an option for you. And we've even heard of people that do the campground hosting in a tent. So there's all kinds of cool, neat opportunities for folks if you want to travel and you want to work. A multitude of ways to do that. One of the biggest resources, and I don't get paid from these guys, but we use them a lot, is workcamper.com, and that's or just Google Work Camping News. That's a paid service. I think it's about $45 a year, but they have vetted employers, and you can actually go in and review what other work campers have said about those employers. You can leave employer reviews, which is pretty nice, and everything's vetted, so it just weeds out all the scams and things like that. So check that out. It's workcamper.com if you're looking for a good work camping job, and if you are seriously looking for it, it's worth the $45 a year. Well, hey, let's take a break now, and we'll come back. We're going to talk a little bit about Memorial Day tips if you don't have a reservation.
This is Dave. Dave makes the tastiest burritos in town. But
nobody knows I exist. I'm serving culinary masterpieces to my mom and a raccoon named Dennis.
Then came Jenny.
Dave, have you tried radio?
Radio, isn't that for traffic reports and late-night alien talk?
It's also for thousands of people who don't know you exist.
Huh?
Yet, radio is affordable, reliable, and it works. Not instant burrito fame, but people start showing up kind of results.
So I partnered with Gold Country Radio, and now people know I exist. I've got new customers, catering calls, and Dennis brought a possum. I think they're dating.
I told you. Radio gets your business heard.
Next up, we a second table, maybe indoor seating.
Want to get your business heard? Visit goldcountryradio.org and click Contact to get started. Radio, small budget, big reach, real results.
All right, we're back from the break. Don't forget to check out goldcountryradio.org. That is Klamath Falls Classic Country Connection. You can check out all kinds of things on there. Under featured shows, you'll be able to hear all of the latest community shows that get aired here first on Gold Country Radio and then get turned into podcasts so that you can catch up on demand and hear the episodes that you missed on the radio. And this is one of those community shows. Also, several of them like Terrible at Fishing, The Life Outdoors Hunting Southern Oregon, and the Make It Out Alive broadcast with Sam Wilson. Really, really cool stuff. Also, check out the community board while you're there on goldcountryradio.org. We post the latest event happenings, community calendar, local music, local news, all kinds of great stuff. And check out our we're proud to be partners with every single one of our partners, and they offer so much and support this radio station and our mission, and we are eternally grateful for that. You guys made a passion project and a life dream a reality. So let's talk about some Memorial Day tips if you don't have reservations. Hopefully you do. And if you do, you'll likely be in a very busy campground. We have a full sheet on our daily arrival reports that we get for campground hosting. Every single spot is booked for Memorial Day, and it's all the same, Friday through Monday. So if you want to go camping and you don't have a reservation, you might try some of these first come first serve sites. Like we have 5 out of 47 that are first come first serve, but you better get here on like a Wednesday to ensure that you're going to get a spot, and there's no guarantees even then. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you're just really in a pinch, you didn't plan, you didn't get a reservation in time, here it is, it's Friday, you didn't get out to the campground until 3 o'clock, and you're finding there's just no first come first serve sites, then you should know about this. Did you know that in the National Forest or on Bureau Land Management land, you can camp anywhere that there is not a no camping sign. And you need to be looking around and making sure that there is no signs that would indicate that you're not allowed to camp there. Now, if it says day use, obviously that's essentially the same thing as a no camping sign, right? Especially if it lists the hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever. But anywhere in the National Forest, like up near Sisters, there's all kinds of little turnoffs. Down in Klamath, same thing. If you head towards Lake of the Woods, all kinds of National Forest Service roads. And you're allowed to camp in those areas for up to 14 days for free. No questions asked. Just look around, make sure there are no signs, and you're not in any place that's dangerous or anything like that. So that is one option for you if you have not gotten a first come site or a reservation and it's a little late in the game as far as Memorial Day goes. Now be aware that when the fire bans come, dispersed camping will be the first ones to be affected. So right now, you're okay to have a fire in the National Forest, but as soon as the inkling of a fire ban comes around, that'll go away quickly. They'll go to where you can have fires only in designated campgrounds, which is why the only reason some people book in campgrounds is when that starts, because they want to have a campfire and they can't do it out in the National Forest while they're dispersed camping. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, if you're like backpacking or something like that, someplace that you can't drive, it's very likely that you may need a wilderness permit. Check with your nearest ranger station about that. Now, we touched briefly on campfires and fire bans, and one of the biggest things, keep this in mind too. So like the area near Lapine, they had a really bad fire last year, and they preemptively have enacted a fire ban. So there are no campfires in that federally managed land, just because they're so gun shy after a campfire last year set off a devastating wildfire. So make sure you know the fire bans and fire restrictions, where you're going. We'll tell you on any public land, it is generally prohibited to have any kind of fireworks. So make sure you're not doing that. That's pretty standard. Now let's talk about some campground etiquette. One of the biggest misconceptions that campers have, especially new campers, is that it's okay to toss trash in the fire pit. Now, if you've got a paper plate and there's an active fire going and you throw it in there and it burns up, great. But before you leave, firstly, you got to make sure your fire's out, because that is a huge no-no. And if you don't put your fire out, it's not like it just smolders out and it goes away. No, the campground host comes around and has to put your fire out for you. So you're creating a lot of work for the campground host, who's already trying to catch up on keeping the place clean for the next campers. When you just leave a fire smoldering, that means we got to put it out, just so you know. Also, keep in mind that no matter how well behaved your dog is, it needs to be leashed. Why? Because even though your dog may be behaved very well, others may not be. And if they see a dog off leash, it can just create all kinds of problems. So keep your dogs leashed if you're around other folks in a campground. If you want to let your dogs off a leash, go out in the woods and go disperse camping. Get out there by yourself and let them roam. Remember to pick up after your pet, especially in these campgrounds. They're just like hotels. They see a lot of traffic. It's a public area. It's not like being out in the middle of the wilderness. You know, these are highly trafficked places, and no one wants to pick up your dog's poo-poo, especially not your favorite campground host. We speak from experience. Also, keep in mind that if you're going to be out and listening to music and stuff, not everyone loves your playlist. So if you're going to do that at the campground, just try to be respectful. And you got to know the vibe. You got to know the vibe of the campground you're going to, and you can kind of read the room when you get there. Some parks are for partiers, and others are for quiet family time, or older folks are there, and you'll quickly get a sense of that. You'll even get different areas within a campground that will kind of just migrate one way or the other. There'll be half the campground that's kind of, okay, all the families settled here, and then the other half of the campground, given the choice, they self-segregate. So one will be the party crowd and the other will be the relaxation crowd. Read the room, know where you're at, and make sure you're respectful of whatever's going on there. Just some food for thought. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we want to tell you, if you're looking for a work camping gig, again, don't underestimate the value of living comfortably. In our case, the electric hookups, even the most scenic site can feel like a chore without enough power, especially for these really long-term stays. So I'll use that old adage, know thyself. If you're looking for work camping jobs, make sure that you know what you're getting into. If you're getting into a dry camping situation, Angie and I would say, that sucks. But maybe you'll be fine. I don't know. We wouldn't do it again. We didn't really understand what we were getting into for 5 months of no electricity, right? Make sure you listen out for all the community shows. Go to goldcountryradio.org. Click on the featured shows. You can also catch us there on the streaming platform, the simulcast 103.3 in Klamath Falls. And check out our travel vlog at therestlessnomads.com. And this radio show, as well as other blog posts and YouTube videos and everything else, get posted there. You can follow us on YouTube. Just Google or YouTube search The Restless Nomads, and you'll be able to see all of our latest antics. If you have any questions about work camping or campground life, work camping life, we'd love to hear from you. You can drop us a message on therestlessnomads.com, and we'll get back to you and let you know exactly what we think, if you're looking to pull the trigger on this thing. I know it's a lifelong dream of many, and few actually realize it. I'm here to tell you it is a blast. You should do it. Get out there and enjoy it. Until next time, happy camping and safe travels. This from the Restless Nomads, Mike and Angie. Back to your regular programming here on Gold Country Radio.